Hey everyone, thanks for checking out another episode of Wonderful Garbage. I'm your host Angela, and this episode is a Bravo TV recap episode. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts of the Santa Barbara trip that we've gotten so far on the Valley. It spans over a couple episodes, so let's get into it. I want to start off by saying I am obsessed with this house. It's probably the only compliment I'm going to give Jesse this entire episode. I was on Jesse's side, or not on his side, but I could tolerate him a little more than Michelle in previous episodes this season. But this episode really changed my mind and really helped me to understand that Michelle has to be very black and white with Jesse. She isn't giving him what he wants. And anyways, we'll get into it later because Michelle and Jesse, I'm so happy they're no longer together. This shit was toxic, but the only compliment I will give Jesse this episode is great job on booking this house or getting an assistant or whoever on Bravo to book this house. It is gorgeous Spanish style homes like this, and like Mediterranean also are my dream. I would love to live in a house like this one day. We don't have a lot of them in Austin, and if we do, they're like $10 million. So, never gonna happen. I'll just live vicariously through these chaotic weirdos. Okay. I love seeing, well, it is hard to watch, but seeing Kristen being emotional about her ovulation timeline and just how much stress that she is putting on having this baby and her worry, everything that she was feeling, back in August or September when this was being filmed, it paid off because she gets pregnant. Now she's about to have her child. I also love the little mini Benji that they made for Zach, like the little flat Stanley. I did that for one of my students when I taught pre-K a while back, and he was going on his first flight and he was so nervous. So I printed out the flat Stanley and had a little activity book with it to where he had to circle or color things in that he either saw in the airport or saw in the airplane or saw on his trip, just to help ease his anxiety. And then when he got back from his trip, he was able to share it with the class. And so I thought it was really cute that they made him a little Benji flat Stanley for Zach. Also, why is Danny wearing toddler pants? What is happening? Danny, what is going on with your style? I like to look at Danny from like the neck up, basically. They do this remote control driving thing, and I want to do this so badly. So they all change into race car gear, and of course Jesse, who I think at this point he's had a couple bottles of champagne already, which is not a flex. It's kind of sad. But they all are in their gear. Jesse's like, this is like an official F1 suit. It's like, okay, it really just looks like everybody else's. So whatever money you spent on it being the official F1 attire isn't worth it. But everyone looks really super cute. But basically, this entire time, they are able to race and they do some stuff, but we are seeing Brittany getting rage text after rage text from Jax, and it is insane. I don't think we've actually seen the text messages in person before. Of course, we've heard things about Jax, and like we've seen how he talks to people on television, but to then see the texting, which normally is kept between him and Brittany should have 100% blocked his number. She even said in the after show that she eventually blocked him, but she did want to keep communicating to send him pictures of their son. And Brittany has been emotionally manipulated by Jax. Like, she does not know how to turn off that caring for her abuser. She said also she forgives really easily. So if Jax is going back and forth between rage texting and then being apologetic and asking for forgiveness and identifying his wrongs and saying he's going to make the change, that brings Brittany back in. Also, it's just crazy that the facility allows phones. Jax said in the after show that legally in California, they can't take their phone from you, but everyone else is like, But if you're there to like really make a change and you want to take this seriously, step one is giving up that outside communication, that distraction, so you can really focus on yourself. But of course, Jax doesn't know how to do that. He wants the attention. He says that in the after show too. Like, he has a need for control. He's obsessed with knowing what Britney's doing and being able to contact her. He's obsessed with knowing what's going on social media. He's like addicted to it, and he wants that validation. He's seeking validation so hard because he doesn't have that validation in himself. Where he's searching for it in outside sources instead of really doing what he needs to do at the facility, which is take care of himself. But we see at some of the texts, it's like, going out partying while your husband's in a mental health house is coming across real nice. Go screen grab all of this now and send it to your friends. You're good at that. I will never forgive you for destroying the only thing I love doing. You better be taking care of the house. I'm watching the cameras. You're not there. You took my son from me. Disgusting. And it's just text after text after text after text. And even in the after show, he's calling her and he's texting her, and Britney's sitting there with Lala. She's like, even right now, he is constantly calling me over and over and over until I pick up. That shit is unhealthy. That also messes with your mind, right? You call someone once, they don't pick up, okay. If it's an emergency, yes, let them know. But Jax has to know what Britney is doing at all times, or he's gonna fucking explode. Jax and Jesse are so similar, because I think we saw it a lot in the past couple episodes with Jesse too. Just the insecurity of it all. And the fact that they both failed at something. They both had failed marriages. These guys don't like losing. And they've lost the two people that were closest to them because they pushed them away in the most disgusting and destructive ways. It's wild that there are two people like this in the friend group. It's so toxic. Well, actually, it's not wild. I guess Vanderpump Rules was also made up of like a majority of these types of personalities. Jax does say in the after show, though, looking back, he should have given up his phone. But again, like everything that Jax says, I'm like, are you just saying this to come across as better on camera? Or do you really mean this? I feel like everything that I hear from Jax in the after show, I take with a grain of salt because I don't freaking believe it. Says he has a need for control. He always wants to know what's going on, that he's never been held accountable for anything in his life. Since he was a child, his parents like never held him accountable, never gave him rules or structure from what it sounds like. And it has now snowballed into him being so self-destructive that he had to go to rehab. Oh my goodness. Okay, this part in the after show, I wanted to jump through the screen and just be like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, okay, yeah, I was there. I know, like, I brought this upon myself. But what I really needed from Britney was just an "we're thinking about you, we're so proud of you" text, or a cute little note. Like, she could leave me a cute little note on a coffee maker, on a coffee machine, and like let me know that, that they're thinking about me, that her and Cruz miss me. And it's like, everything that you have put this woman through, and you are so upset that she isn't writing you a little love note. You have treated her like trash for what it seems like almost since the beginning of your relationship, continuously. I mean, we saw it on Vanderpump Rules, and he put Britney through so much and isn't realizing his actions are causing her to have to push away, and that he's not going to get those kind of thoughtful messages. It just shows how there's still a disconnect because he even says, oh, well, if she would have wrote me a note or sent me a little text, I would have stopped rage texting her. If she would have said, we're thinking about you and we're proud of you and we can't wait to see you in 30 days, I would have been fine. No, you fucking wouldn't have. You would have found a reason to contact her and continue to rage text. 100%. Oh, and then finding out that Jesse, because Brittany was like, how does Jax know that we're out on this trip? And learning that Jesse is texting Jax what's going on, which is just making it fucking worse. It's like, Jesse, do not insert yourself in this situation. Like, it's very serious. It's going to make Jack spiral with the fact that he's not there. And then he's going to make up things in his head about Brittany. And I think he's going to spiral either way, right? He's going to spiral knowing in real time that they're on a trip, or finding out later. And Jesse continuing to talk to Jax through this isn't supportive. He thinks he's being helpful. He thinks he's, giving Jack some sense of normalcy to being able to talk to a friend, but it just makes the situation worse. So they do the remote control car stuff, and it's cute. I think Danny wins. It's like Danny and Jason and Luke, I think. I don't know. But they go back to the house, and Zach and Janet end up talking, and I'm liking Janet more this episode. I think I am shifting a little bit more to liking Janet. I still like Kristen over her, but she doesn't bother me. Like, she's funny, and she's kind of like nerdy. Oh, this was at the remote control car place. She tells Jesse that, because Jesse's like going on about like Michelle cheating on him and being like, well, maybe if your best friend hadn't cheated on me for 2 years, like things would be better. And Janet's like, if I was married to you, I would cheat on you too, like 100%. So I love Janet for saying that. And then I love seeing Janet forgive Zach for what he said last season. Like, she just really wants to move forward. She goes, look, I wasn't there. I was home 8 months pregnant when you were running your mouth and apparently like really blackout drunk. Janet was there when he made the comment about like, I don't care what happens to her baby. But throughout the night, Zach got progressively more drunk and had to be taken out of Jax's bar. So Janet's like, I don't know anything about that, but just like what you said about my baby, my unborn child, I'm pregnant with my first child, and then like you're saying ill things about it. Like, she's like, that really got in my head, especially being 1 month out from giving birth. And Zach apologizes, and so like things seem to be okay. But it also gives us a little insight about how messy Brittany really is. I think when Jax and Brittany are together, Jax is immediately the villain because he's like the worst one. But now that they're separated, we're seeing a little bit more of how messy Brittany can be. Janet tells Zach in this conversation that, well, Brittany was the one who told me what you said last year at the bar. And Zach was hurt. He's like, oh, Brittany's the one who told you. Like, my best friend, who we grew up together in Kentucky, we both moved out here to LA, and then to learn that Brittany went and told Janet all this stuff. Oh, and then in the after show, they talk about this whole exchange, and Zach was like, well, like, Janet and I, we were close friends. Like, we had, like, a really tight-knit friendship. We were very close, all these things. And then immediately cuts to Janet being like, we were never close friends. I wouldn't consider Zach a close friend. Like, he was roommates with Jasmine, and I hung out with her, and like that's how we got along and like knew each other. She's like, but we never hung out one-on-one together. And I'm like, yeah, of course you guys weren't close because you were up Sheena's ass. No, I'm just kidding. But remember how like Janet apparently stalked Sheena to become friends with her? I still love that so much. But it seems like Janet and Zach are back. They're good. We'll see what happens. But she does say later on in the next episode, this most recent one, that when they weren't friends and when people would ask her if Zach's hair was a wig, she would say yes. That also made me like Janet even more, because I was like, yeah, she's petty. That's what we love. That's what we need on the show. There are so many dark moments that we need the light, fun, pettiness to balance the negativity and the dark out. Okay, let's talk about this ceremonialist embodiment guide, spiritual photographer Willa. She definitely looks like one of my parents' friends that I grew up with, who always like smelled like patchouli. Definitely someone who lived in South Austin many years ago. I have rubbed shoulders with them at some sort of grocery store co-op or something. Like, I'm like, okay, I grew up with this person. But I loved Brittany being like, okay, I'm not into like crystals and things like that. We should just all just smoke some weed and have a laugh and like everything be good. Which is just totally a defense mechanism for her because she doesn't want to feel the feelings. She just wants to like get high and like vibe with it. And so they're doing these like different things where they have to talk about something you want to let go and then something you want to like accept and like something you want to invite in. And we see a couple of them like really do take it seriously. Like Jason and Danny and Luke really were. And then it became just too much for Jesse. He's already getting teary-eyed. He's too closed off. He also doesn't want to open and be vulnerable. They also do this gratitude passing of a balloon and thinking about like good times or something, you know, that they are grateful for. And Michelle's trying to think of something with like her and Jesse, and she was like, there are just so many bad moments. But the only thing I'm like really, really grateful for is the fact that we chose to have a daughter, because now we have Isabella, and like that broke Jesse. He gets up. He's a very prideful person. And again, I don't think he likes to fail. No one really likes to fail, but for him, he, I think, internalizes it a lot. And the fact that their marriage did not work out, and she is now in another relationship where she does seem happy, is really, really hard for Jesse to cope with. It's just like the way he lashes out at Michelle and the way that he lashes out at Jason later when Jason tries to check on him. Let's talk about this Jack's home video BS that they decided to show. I don't even know why they let him film this. I don't even know why he's going to be allowed at BravoCon. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I get he's an OG from Vanderpump Rules and one of the people who brought on the show. Literally, when they did the transition from Vanderpump Rules to the Valley, it was him having dinner at Tom Tom or drinks at Tom Tom, and then him walking into the couch on the Valley, and that's how the show started. I get that he was literally a part of that transition. But after hearing everything we've heard and seeing things on TV, it's my one constant issue with Bravo is not having some sort of like ethical moral line of, if we are seeing Jax and hearing that he has treated Brittany in such a horrible, negative, unsafe way, why are we allowing him at the biggest event that Bravo puts on? Because it's only going to fuel his ego more. And that's not what we need. He doesn't need that. That's not healthy for him. It just, this whole thing allows him to be more performative. It continues to give him a platform. You know, like let's say social media, reality TV, it goes away forever. Everything that he relies on is gone. Similar to him being fired from Vanderpump Rules. And what do you have now? Like what's left after that? That is what Jack should be focusing on. It's like a total control thing. Even in the video, he's like, this is so hard, it's so tough for me, blah, blah, blah. But Brittany, like, she gets to go out. She's in the outside world. She gets to go on trips. And him also saying, you know, like, marriage, it's in sickness and in health. And right now that he's sick. Okay, marriage is also about respect and caring for each other, not emotional, mental, psychological, physical abuse. You threw that shit out the window, sir. She doesn't owe you anything other than when it comes to co-parenting and a healthy and positive way for your son, if you can do that. All right, let's talk about Zach's tiny ass nightstand that we saw in the most latest episode. He has a 2-liter of Diet Coke, water bottles, Pop-Tarts, a red Solo cup, and French onion dip. And we learned that he fell asleep with the French onion dip on his chest while he was eating it with chips in the middle of the night, fell asleep, it spilled, and here we are. It felt very Paige and Sierra from Summer House, just like a bunch of shit all over the place that you're sleeping in. So Jesse's talking about that he had expectations for this trip with him and Michelle, that he really wanted them to just leave everything at the door and have a good time. And it's like, you did? Because you're not acting like that. Lead by example. If you want to make it a nice trip for your soon-to-be ex-wife, or just enjoyable for the rest of the group, and you not contribute to the chaos, then freaking act like it. Don't drink 2 bottles of champagne and then pop off on Jason and the producers and just be a shell of yourself. Like that gratitude spiritual thing they did the night before, it was so hard for him to be vulnerable and open up because, yeah, that is hard. But if you really want to fix things and you really want to, like, put yourself out there and try to get to the root issues of what's really going on with you. I know the spiritual thing is not like therapy in one night, but it can help you realize things and it can help you get your feelings out. But the fact that Jesse can't even do that, well, then, like, this isn't going to go anywhere. I think he's so prideful and egotistical, and his ego is just completely shot. Like, Michelle's in a new relationship. She's happy. Even in this gratitude thing, she was just like, it's hard to think of like a really happy moment or like something that I am really grateful for in the past. The only thing I can think of is that the fact that Jesse and I decided to have a child together. That's really the only happy moment. And then that broke Jesse to the point where he had to get up and go to his room and then pop off on Jason and the producers in his gray off-white old lady bloomer shorts. Like, I have no idea what he was wearing. So in this latest episode of Summer House, Amanda Batula has her swim line celebration, but it's like cardboard cutouts of what her swim line is going to look like, not actually like the actual material or anything, but she wears these red and white polka dot bloomer shorts, and it totally reminded me of what Jessie wore, and it totally reminded me of what Jessie wore. I was like, who wore it better, Jesse Lawley in his gray off-white disgusting little bloomer shorts, or Amanda Batula in her cute polka dots? I think we know who won that one. It's silly. And then even Jesse telling Kristen and Luke in the morning when they're in the kitchen, like, I really thought about leaving last night, but like, I don't know, I like decided to stay. And Luke's like, yeah, you decided that you don't remember well enough what you actually did last night. And you're just assuming that you have to fix something. And I'm like, oh, that hangover anxiety, that's real. Have y'all, I'm sure, I don't know if you've had a drunken night where you've ran your mouth or you've acted in a crazy way and you wake up the next morning and you don't know what happened, but internally, you know something's going on. Like, that hangover anxiety is no joke. Also, him being like, I want to leave this trip I planned. It's so Bravo, Real Housewives coded. So I was like, oh, I love that, Jesse. You could be a Real Housewife in no time. We see Brittany getting texts from Jax in the morning, but apparently they aren't rageful yet. It's him letting Brittany know that he's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And they talk about it in the after show. Brittany thought that Jax was diagnosed with that like a year ago. Jax swears it was just depression only. But then in the mental health facility, they're telling him that he's not depressed, he's bipolar. I think he's all the things under the sun. Danny also says in the after show that he got on medication years ago because he wasn't feeling well. There's a lot of stuff going on in his head. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot more to Danny there of him, like, he gets drunk pretty quickly in this episode. He also has 3 kids under 3. He's exhausted constantly. He is a walking zombie. And knowing that the group has said, like, yeah, when Danny goes out drinking, he doesn't do it often, but when he does, he gets blacked out, shit-faced. He has to be carried or, like, kicked out of bars. Like, it's not good. So I feel like there is a lot more there with Danny that we're not seeing. And if you're going to be on a reality show, everyone else is putting their stuff out there like that. It could be also a way to, like, heal through issues and things that you have. So I do hope we get to see more from Danny and Nia. I don't want to say you should be forced to share all of that, but you are on a reality show and there is more under the surface that we're not getting, it seems. So Jax was saying that, Brittany in the after show was saying Jax had gotten a prescription but wasn't taking the medication, and that her and his sister were begging for him to take the medication. He says no. What happened was a year ago he got a prescription for something but never got it filled. And then this last time he got Lexapro, took it for 2 weeks only. It wasn't helping him, and that's why he wanted to go, or that's when he was forced to go into the mental health facility. And it's like, yeah, you can't take that medication for 2 weeks and think that it's going to fix you. Like, that shit is long term. It's something you're going to have to take for the rest of your life. So Jax he still doesn't understand it, you know? And Jax is saying, like, I knew I had an issue. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I wasn't depressed. He's now saying he hasn't seen that rageful redness in a while that he would get in him. He still gets angry. 100%, but he isn't rageful anymore. And it's like, okay. And we get a little clip in the after show. Brittany and Lala are filming the after show, and Jax is calling and calling Brittany. And she's like, he won't stop calling me. Like, I already told him I was filming the after show. And so she answers the phone, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm filming. Oh, okay, well, like, I had a hard day because, like, this happened, my car, blah, 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 blah. And Brittany's like, okay, well, I have to go. I'm working. I'm filming something. And then he's like, but why are you being short with me? And she's like, because I'm working. I already told you I'm filming something. I need to go. And he was like, oh, okay. Oh, all right. Bye. And it's like, he lost the one person that he thought he was going to have forever. He drove her away, and now she doesn't give a fuck what happened to your car, dude. She doesn't care. She's trying to work and make money. You screwed over her entire life. Like, stop. It was really funny. I was almost waiting to see, like, is he gonna, like, yell at her on the phone? But it was good that he didn't. But back on the show, Zach was saying that he thinks Brittany is trauma trained. Like, because, so she's texting him, like, she can't stop texting Jax. It's pretty unhealthy. She is so used to living in this chaotic life with him, this constant wheel of up and down emotions and the rage and then the love bombing and just the constant mind fuckery from him that Brittany doesn't know how to get out of it. And it's really sad. And it's just, that's been her norm for so long. Even when they started dating, everyone was like, oh, Brittany changed Jackson. Like, we all thought he changed for a little bit. And then no, he is back to his old disgusting ways, lying to Lala about what was actually going on with him and Brittany while Brittany was literally packing up and moving her whole life to LA, and then cheating on her, and then just continuing to treat her like crap and talking down to her and being disrespectful, you know? And it's like, how do you get out of that 10-year cycle? And thankfully, she finally did. Okay, let's talk about this whole winery thing, which, is never going to end well. Jesse is shit-faced. He drank another 2 bottles of champagne already again this morning, is what they're saying. I think he did that the day before, too. If I have too much champagne, I am burping my face off. But maybe that just happens with the cheap champagne. Like, maybe there's just more carbonation in it or something, more bubbles in the cheaper things. And so it makes me burp. So I'm surprised Jesse. Jesse is handling it very well, but not really. He's laying down on Kristen and Luke. His head's in Zach's crotch. Then he gets up and tries to dance. He has no rhythm. And I'm like, oh, Michelle, I get why you're leaving. I get why you left him. I mean, on top of, like, the absolute, like, trash way that he treated you, and the yelling, the fighting, the putting down, all of it, but the way he moves, girl, yes, get rid of him. It's so bad to the point where Kristen's even annoyed. And if like, Kristen is annoyed with your drunk ass, you're too drunk. She's like, we're going to a winery and you're already shit-faced. because Jesse doesn't know how to handle his emotions. He doesn't know how to just be in the now. So he's going to get drunk so he can mask whatever he's feeling because he's having a really rough time. Also, this is like their first trip of them being officially separated, I think, which also I think is adding to all of this. They normally probably would have been in the same room, fighting their faces off, but being in the same room, like in Big Bear. I think they were in the same room in Big Bear. So, last season. So I think this being the first trip of them being in separate rooms, he doesn't have her in that same way that he has had in the past. It's probably making him feel a little weird. Also, he's just like a really terrible human being. Kristen's like, he's acting like how I acted on that Cabo San Lucas trip on Vanderpump Rules, which was back in 2013, which is insane. And we just get flashbacks of Kristen falling all over the beach. I love it so freaking much. And it's also another week of understanding why Kristen fell for Luke, because the party bus engine overheats and Luke gets out and he's like looking under the hood with the driver, and I was like, oh yeah, I get it, Kristen, I get it. Also, my husband would probably be doing the same thing. He would probably be like trying to help and see what's going on. It also feels very Vanderpump Rules coded that their bus broke down on the way to something and now they're like trying to figure out how to get there. They do end up getting like big Chevy SUVs to Uber to the winery, which back in the day wouldn't have been Chevy SUVs. It would have been like someone's tiny ass Kia or like Volkswagen Bug that they would have like tried to all fit into, but it made me laugh a lot. Okay, on the bus though, we do see a little clip of Nia getting a little snappy at Danny, and I freaking loved it. I want to see it more. Danny had to leave the night before. He had a voiceover gig, so he went and did that, and now he's on his way to meet the rest of the group at the winery. But Nia's on the phone and she's like, look, I need you to stop at the house to get a couple very important things. I'm like, it is very important. You need to stop at the house. We don't know what he says to her, but she goes, you do not say that. Listen to your wife first. I was like, ooh. Ooh, and everyone's heads just look at her and they're like, and she smiles and she goes, oh, okay, sorry. And it's just like, oh, there has to be more there that we are not seeing. And I want to know what's going on because they act like the perfect couple or present in such a like calm, loving way. And I think that's how they are most of the time. But there's like a 5% little part that I think we're all itching just to see because not everyone is perfect. I love Nia so much. I think she is a wonderful, fantastic human being. I think she's a really great friend, seems to be a really wonderful mother. But I just want to see her get at Danny a little bit more. That's always fun. Okay, so they all get to the winery. For some reason, everyone thinks it looks like The Notebook. It's like, no, it's just like a winery with a little lake in it, and there's a boat, and that's like you guys are automatically thinking it's a notebook. It is so funny. So they're all doing this wine tasting, and Brittany and Zach are like, we don't like wine. Zach likes rosé, but Brittany's like, I'm not a wine girl. I'm a tequila girl. Like, I don't want to sip this. I want to be able to like take a shot of something, you know? So then Jesse's like, oh, well, here's this bucket. Like, you can just, like, spit your wine in the bucket. I'm like, but that's not what the bucket's for. The bucket isn't for your spit. The bucket is for you to pour your wine out when you don't want to finish the rest of your tasting. And then she's like, well, like, I'm not really a spitter. And we're like, oh, we don't need to know what you and Jax did in the bedroom. We're good. No, thank you. I could have been fine without knowing that. Also, is Michelle not friends with Jasmine and her girlfriend Melissa? Because Jasmine's girlfriend Melissa's on the trip too. And everyone else, because Michelle's like, how did you guys meet? And so they talk about they met at a bar and exchanged social media handles. And that Jasmine like wanted to kiss Melissa the first night. And Melissa was like, no, that's not how I roll. But I'm like, why do you guys not know how they met? They've been together for 4 years and you guys didn't know each other. Maybe they're always drinking and they just don't remember. I have no idea. Also, Michelle looked like she could give two shits as Jasmine and Melissa were telling their story. She was just kind of like, oh, fuck, I regret asking this immediately. Again, liking Janet more. I think I said this earlier, but Janet's like, Zach, by the way, when you and I were fighting and people would ask if you were wearing a wig, I said, yeah, you were wearing a wig. And Zach starts cracking up and he's like, that's where all of those like articles were coming out. People being like, yes, it is a wig. It was you, Janet. And I love it so much because it's like the pettiest little lie to spread. It cracks me up. Okay, there was this moment. They're all drinking wine. It hasn't popped off yet, but it is about to. Okay, this part is really funny of Jesse. He's standing up and he's like looking at the grounds and he's like, wow, this really looks like Monet. And Luke's like, huh, yeah, well, I've like never been there. And they're like, did you just say you've never been to Monet? And Luke's like, no, because I know it's like a painter. I know it's an artist, but like the way you said it, I thought it was a place too. And they're all laughing. And Jesse is like, oh, well, you were just not cultured. And Luke's like, well, you're not manly. And I was just like, oh, another point for Luke. I freaking love it. Okay, are you ready for basically the rest of this episode is explosions between Jesse and Michelle and swinging me more towards being on Michelle's side because this guy really is trash. Like, I like him outside of Michelle, but again, it also does matter how you treat and respect people, especially the mother of your child. But he is so freaking hurt. His ego is so bruised that Michelle cheated on him, left him, is now happy in another relationship, and could give two craps about him. He is so hurt and saddened by it that it comes out in anger and disgust. So Jesse and Michelle talk, and he's like, are you happy? Like, how are you? How are you? She goes, yeah, yes. I am happy besides you. If you weren't in the picture, then yes, I would be very happy. I was like, ooh. And then Jesse turns this into, well, if you're just so happy, why aren't you happy for me and my relationship? I'm like, she doesn't know you shit when it comes to your relationship, and vice versa. You both don't need to approve of each other's relationships. It would be nice. It would be great if everything was hunky-dory and you guys could coexist and could co-parent well. And respect that each person has moved on, but that's not the case. It's like he's just waiting for Michelle to like grovel at his feet to get some sort of like satisfaction out of it for him to feel like he won. I don't know. And Jesse just continues to make this whole conversation at the winery. So like everyone's at the table, they're off on this little side table, but he continues to make this whole conversation about him and just shows how self-centered he really is. He's like, no apology for how he's acted or things he said. Michelle's like, I thought you were gonna apologize for calling me a hooker and like how you've treated me. And he's like, apology to who? For what? It's like he has no idea that he even needs to apologize for anything. Again, it's like his pride, his ego. He's so hurt. He's not going to be the first one to be kind in this situation. And she calls him a disaster. He calls her a hooker again, which later he says it's a lie, which shows he's only saying it to rile her up. Like, he wants to do something. He wants to get her to a point where she freaks the freak out to just be like, there you go. See? She's crazy too, which is just like Jax. He wants to push Brittany to a point where she has to go absolutely insane to be like, see? It's not just me. I'm not the only crazy one here. It's like you're leading these women to act this way. They can't have a rational conversation with you because you don't understand it. You only understand the language of chaos, and that's not healthy. Which then, him saying the hooker thing again really just riles her up so freaking bad. She's like, you cannot say this to the mother of your child. You cannot speak to the mother of your child like this. She is now up from the table. She's full on yelling. Everyone's like, oh shit, like we need to see what's going on. Janet and Brittany go over to check on Michelle. Luke comes over to check on Jesse. Luke's like, how's it going? And Jesse's like, well, I think it's going great. And Luke's like, what? It's like, yeah, Jesse thinks it's going great because this is a power play for him. He wants to show that he can get under Michelle's skin still. And he did it. He pushed her to that point. This was what he wanted. He feels good about it now. And it's just like between these two and Jackson Brittany, the emotional trauma is real. It also really should be studied in like counseling classes, like for people who are going into therapy work or psychology, even psychiatry. This show should be studied in those classes, and they could really write some really great dissertations on these chaotic human beings. But yeah, Michelle's riled up. She's like, you've spent all of our money. You did all this stuff. And Jesse is just sitting there, unbothered. Like, yeah, okay, sure, go ahead. You're the one who's broke. A gay guy is sending you money? Right? We can put that out there. And the camera just pans to Zach. And I'm like, okay, you're going to pan to like the only gay guy on the screen as if like Zach is the one sending him money, or we need to know like who a gay guy is. Like the camera pan to Zach was so weird. It made me laugh a lot. But also I felt like this was another, like a part of Jesse's whole power thing of, I'm riling her up, and then him sitting back there so nonchalantly, so calm, just being like, oh yeah, go ahead, yell, watch them think that you're all crazy type thing, you know? Jesse did say on the after show that the payment was from a friend for his birthday. It was a present. And we're like, okay, whatever. If you were both hookers, whatever. Wonderful for you both. Now we get more Jesse and Michelle at the house, and it is so much. They go talk one-on-one, and he's like, why can't you acknowledge my happiness? Apparently his new girlfriend is spending so much time with their daughter to the point where she's calling her second mommy, which is 100% not okay. Michelle's like, sure, I'll be happy for you, but like, I know this isn't going to be long lasting. Like, you just met this girl, you've been together for a couple months, and she's like, it's not going to last. And I just don't want Isabella to have these revolving door of women coming in and out of her life, thinking that they're all going to be her second mommy. And he's like, who gives a shit if I have a bunch of relationships? She's like, you can have a bunch of relationships, just don't do it in front of our daughter. Don't introduce them to our daughter unless it's going to be like your next big relationship, like someone you're actually going to stay with. And 100%. And Jessie is still trying to get Michelle to admit that she cheated on him with her current boyfriend. Michelle's like, but like with your thing with your girlfriend, like it's only been 5 months. Like, why are you introducing Isabella to her now? And he's like, well, 5 months or 2 years. And like, again, he just still can't let go that he was cheated on. He is so hurt by it. And he brings it up in a confessional too. And he calls her a liar and a hooker again. And Michelle's like, fine, call me that. I don't care. And she is so not bothered by it, which I absolutely loved. She goes, look, I kissed someone. Yes, you know that. That's it. And it's like, oh, you were a shitty husband, Jesse. She cheated. You guys are clearly good together. Just accept the defeat of the relationship and move on. But he has to be right in every single instance that it's going to kill him from the insides. Like, it is destroying him and making him like a really nasty person because he can't let it go. And I really love Michelle for being calm in that moment, but she doesn't get calm. The calmness leaves her body kind of. So he says something that's bleep. It's like, did you bleep or did you not bleep? And then calls her a lying, cheating whore. And she's like, I came here for you. I came here for your well-being. I came here to make sure that you were okay. Can you just freaking stop this? And then again, he's like, did you or did you not cheat? Which sets her over the edge. And she throws a glass of water, or it might have been liquor because it was brown. She throws the liquid on him, and she's like, what do I have to do to make you stop torturing me? Like, what do I have to do to stop this? Do I need to yell at the house and tell them our entire business? And now she's yelling at the house, basically saying that he never paid attention to her, he never kissed her, never showed her affection, and spent all of their money, and she is done. And in the after show, she had said that they had about $1.5 million in their savings. And when she gave birth to their daughter, she stopped working to stay home. But Jesse also stopped working. Like, they were making a lot of money selling houses. Real estate in LA at that time, it was huge. And he spent all of their money and they had nothing. Yeah, that on top of not being affectionate and just disrespecting, not paying attention to her, it's going to drive your spouse away. Michelle also said in the after show that they had agreed to not talk about the cheating stuff on the show just in case their daughter sees clips later in the future, and he brings it up in episode 1. And Jesse brings up in the after show that as soon as they separated, Michelle started going out immediately while he was staying home. But then Michelle says in the after show that a week after they separated, Jesse was hooking up with some married woman. It's a lot. Also, Michelle, it seems, was checked out of this marriage long before they had officially separated. Because if I remember, she wanted to separate like a year before, and he convinced her to stay. So if she was already wanted to leave your ass a year ago, and then she finally left you a year later, yeah, she's gonna go out immediately. It's not like you guys were lovey-dovey one day, the next day she breaks it off with you, and then she's out on the town. Like, it was long overdue, you know? Okay, let's talk about this dinner that they have. So Danny got a little too drunk, maybe, and ended up missing the dinner. He is passed out asleep. So at the winery, he is drinking all of the wine. He's getting more rosé from Zach. He's not tasting the wine. He is chugging it. At one point, he is gargling it, which is actually pretty disgusting. But he is getting litty-titty at this winery. Then when they get back to the house, we see a little clip of Janet going into the pantry to get some snacks. And she says that Danny is in there taking shots of tequila. In the after show, Danny says he went to go get a White Claw, which was in there. And yeah, he ended up having tequila. But the perception to some of the house is like, well, why is Danny hiding alcohol? Which becomes a thing later on in the rest of the episode. Nia's like, he's exhausted, which is probably it. Again, they have 3 kids under 3. And they are there all the time. Plus the wine and the pantry tequila. Let the guy sleep. He probably hasn't had a solid night's sleep in like 3 or 4 years. Let him sleep. Everyone's laughing except Jasmine. She's like, I think this is all BS. And I think basically like Danny has a drinking problem. He got drunk. We know he gets drunk. And why are we just laughing it off as him being like sleep deprived? It's like, I think it's actually both. So they're eating and drinking, and Jack starts rage texting Brittany again, and Brittany can't help but reading it and responding. She doesn't know how to stop. And again, everyone is telling her, like, turn your phone off, give me your phone, or block him. You need to just like enjoy a dinner. But she can't. She is so used to the chaos. Also, I'm not sure if Jasmine's girlfriend, Melissa, is sleepy or just hates the whole entire dinner, because there were, like, clips of her and she just looked out of it. Like, she was not having a good time. Kristen's like, okay, all this yelling that has been happening stresses me out. I needed to take a Valium. Let's have a light little conversational game. Who is everyone's hall pass? And I love this so much. Zach was like, Channing Tatum. Basic, but okay. Duh. Why not? I would have liked to know which era of Channing Tatum, if there's a specific one. Is it Step Up? Is it Magic Mike? Is it more recent? What are we feeling? And if it is Magic Mike's, which one? All of them? 1, 2, or the last one? Let me know. Jason says Lady Gaga. He goes, let's bang it out and make some music. And I loved that so much. Also, since Lady Gaga is a fan of Sheena, I'm wondering if Sheena could make a meetup happen between Lady Gaga and Jason. But also, like, would you want to meet your hall pass, right? Hall passes are always like that, especially like celebrity ones. It's always that thing of like, if you ever did run into them, which like you're probably never going to run into them, but in this case, you totally could. Luke's was crazy. Luke said his hall pass is Little Mermaid. And I was like, there has to be a term for this. There has to be a term for people who are attracted to cartoons. So I Googled it. And people who find cartoon characters sexually attractive are also known as fictosexuals. They are individuals who experience attraction or desire towards fictional characters, including those in cartoons. This attraction can be driven by various factors, such as relatable traits, idealized features, or the character's personality and storyline. And Jason's like, hold on. Pre or post legs on Little Mermaid? And it is just so, it is so freaking funny. They're like, Nia, who's your hall pass? Like, Danny's not here. You can let us know. Just like, and she's like, we don't have hall passes because we live in LA and we're actually friends with celebrities and we meet a lot of celebrities often. She's like, I can't be like, I want to sleep with Chris Hemsworth and then run into him later. I'm like, oh, yes, you can. You 100% can. And they're all kind of annoyed. They're like, Nia. And Brittany's like, we all live in LA. And like, we're all going to say who our hall pass is. It is a silly ass game. And then Jasmine's pushing. She's like, what about Jamie Fraser? Like the Outlander guy. Because Danny dressed up as him for Halloween. And Nia's like, okay, sure, Jamie. She's like, we just don't have hall passes. Like, I only want to sleep with Danny, and Danny only wants to sleep with me. And now Nia gets up, and she's like, I'm done with this. I'm going to go check on Danny. I'm like, okay, I guess Oh, no, she says she's going to go sit in the sauna, which basically means she's going to go check on Danny. So I guess dinner's done. Nia gets up. Michelle gets up. Danny's passed out asleep. But Jasmine is irritated. She is annoyed that Nia isn't saying that Danny drank too much, and that's why he's really asleep. And everyone's like, but he's also tired, like all the children, all the time, every day, all day. And I think Jasmine's issue is she is annoyed at the perception of Danny versus the Danny that they all know when he drinks. Which there was that incident on Halloween of him putting his hand on her leg and saying, get daddy a drink, and then grabbing her girlfriend's butt, which is 100% unacceptable and uncalled for and disgusting. So she's like, we're not going to just simply call out the fact that Danny's drunk? Because when he gets drunk, he does stuff. Why are we talking about that, you know? And I think that's Jasmine's big issue, which now gets Brittany riled up to give Nia shit because Brittany's like, I'm sharing my life. Why can't Nia share hers? Why can't she just say, yes, Danny's drunk? And it's like, okay, all right, let's see how this goes. So Brittany's like, there's little things that have happened all day that they haven't been honest about, like Nia being on the phone and snapping at Danny, them arguing in an Uber, and we get a flashback to it, and we can't really hear what's going on. It almost sounds like the audio was sped up, but she's like annoyed about something. And then Brittany's like, but they're just calling it like he's tired from his job. And then again, let the man sleep, y'all. If you guys all had 3 children under 3 years old, I think everyone would have been asleep. Everyone would have skipped dinner and you guys would have all gone straight to bed. You know, now Jasmine's up from the table. Brittany's up from the table. Zach goes and finds Nia and decides to tell her what they all just talked about at the table. And he's like, everyone thinks like, you guys front like your relationship's perfect. And I feel like Zach is totally doing this. And I think he even says in a confessional, he is doing this because he found out earlier that Brittany went behind his back and told Janet what he said about her pregnancy. So now Zach wants to do the same thing and tell Nia what Brittany said about her marriage. And he's saying, you know, Brittany was a part of it. If not, she was the most vocal one. And Zach regrets saying it immediately because now Nia is pissed. She was like, they're talking about my relationship, my marriage. He's exhausted. He's sleeping. Let him sleep. But she does do this very little, like, motherly cutesy thing when she checks in on Danny right before this. She's like, hi, how are you? And he's like, why didn't you wake me up? Like, I missed dinner. She's like, I tried like 5 times. You wouldn't get up. And he's like, no, I didn't. And she's like, yes, Danny. And it's just like, you could be a little more like, dude, you freaking just slept through our dinner. I tried to wake you up. What the heck? But she is very motherly talking to him. So I would love to see her like give him a little more shit. Be a little more real probably like how you guys are in your day-to-day life, unless this is very much how they are in their day-to-day life. So Zach's like, okay, Nia, I'm sorry. Let's just go back to my room and talk. But they walk over there, and Brittany is in the room with Jasmine, and I think Michelle too. Nia's like, I'm going to go listen by the door and just hear what they're saying first before I go in to confront them, so I can hear what they're saying behind my back. And just amazing work, Nia. Freaking amazing. I'm so proud of you. And we hear Brittany saying, I'm sorry, I can talk about my husband being in rehab. And I'm like, actually, I would love if we just stopped talking about Jax altogether. That would be really great. Can we just pretend Jax was never a part of the show? That would be really wonderful. And Jasmine's talking too. And Nia walks in and she's like, okay, so what? And Brittany's like, I'm just like, I put my whole life out there on this show and you're not giving us anything. And Nia's like, okay, Danny was drunk. I said it. And Brittany's like, well, I'm just mad that you wouldn't say that earlier, that you were blaming his exhaustion on the reason that he slept through dinner. And Brittany's like, I'm going through so much. And Nia's like, oh, so you have to attack me because you're going through so much? Ooh. She goes, tell me what you want to do. Tell me. I was like, damn. Brittany's like, my husband's in rehab, and my own friends can't admit for one night when their husband's drunk. Just like one night. You can't say that. And it's like, Brittany, that's not it. Just because your husband's in rehab doesn't mean your friends need to act a certain way to validate your feelings or validate whatever you're going through. Yes, it would be great and wonderful if we could see a little different side of Nia and Danny because we think it's there. But Jack's going to rehab, like, that's a pretty big storyline for the show, unfortunately. And you are choosing to get everyone involved in it by sharing text messages, talking about it over and over again. Nia seems to handle her stuff in a more controlled environment, to whereas Brittany throws it out there and everyone is then forced to be a part of it. And you know, Brittany is obviously going through a lot of stuff, but you shouldn't be exploding on people who don't deserve it. Like, save that shit for Jax when he gets out of rehab. And Jesse and Jason are apparently, they're like right behind the camera crew filming, and Jesse's like, me and Michelle are the most sane ones in the house right now. It's like, no, I'm sure the most sane people in the house, it's a 4-way tie between Melissa, who is probably asleep, Luke, Jason, and drunk Danny, who is also asleep. Those are the 4 most people who are sane in the house right now, Jesse. You are far from sane. 100%. And that's what we have gotten so far in Santa Barbara. It is insane. It is sad. It is chaotic. It is entertaining. And really seeing this blow up between Jesse and Michelle, while it was a lot, it really gave a deep insight into just how done Michelle is and how Jesse's ego and insecurities really fuel all of his decision making, and how he continues to treat Michelle, you know, for as much as he loves his daughter, the fact that he can't give an ounce of respect to his mother is really, really difficult. And I think Michelle has tried, but with nothing in return. And to the point where she's like, I have no emotion. Like, I can't have emotions toward this because it's going to be worse for her if she does put any emotion into it. Because we see it. We saw how she yelled in the entire house and threw a freaking drink on him. He drove her to get to that point, and it's so, so sad. But just another couple of weeks of grown adults acting like children. We love to see it. All right. I hope you enjoyed this recap of the past couple episodes of The Valley. There was a lot there, but thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. Follow on social media, follow here wherever you're listening. Make sure you're subscribing so you get notified when new episodes are out, and I really appreciate it. Thank you all so much. Until next time.